Right, Danny, thanks so much for
So,
joining the
yeah,
podcast. Welcome to this amateur hour, as I call it.
it's an amateur hour. It's like, I think, very, very entertaining always.
But to start the podcast, I'm starting now
Yeah.
with this one. We are a sim racing, so what means sim racing to you?
Oh, yes. I think the beautiful thing on sim racing actually is for everybody, it means something different. Sim racing itself, of course, the name is like simulated racing.
Mhm.
But personally, for me, it was like the first time that I had the chance to like really prove what I'm capable of driving. Because I used to come through regular motorsports like karting and doing formula or racing car tests to sim racing in the late 2007, and then like was hooked and then just started to drive and feel like, okay, now I can have like really time to shine.
Mhm.
There's no money holding me back or lesser engines or lesser material that I have because I'm not like factory driver or something.
Yeah.
And actually, like, I think the most interesting part is like for everybody, the car is the same, and only the setup at some point is different. So there's no, yeah, no excuse actually if you mess up or if you're not good enough, because then somebody's really clearly better than you. And I like this kind of honesty about sim racing. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because that's one where I can, because you've been already on sim racing, I would say 15 years, but probably a little bit more, probably what, 17 to 18 years
Yeah,
already in sim racing?
let's say, like, I mean, in the years at 2000 when Live for Speed was like important and Race Room was important, we can clearly say it is sim racing, but it's like the
Mhm.
grassroots of sim racing. That was not like so developed. Racer 7 is like from the perspective of today, like let's say like from the physical and simulation side, like more or less like an arcade game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say like when I need to make like a mark in a year on a list of calendar, I would say like 2013, because it was the first point where it's like was like, let's take this really serious and like spend a lot of time at the
Okay.
simulator, try to understand physics, try to understand how you need to drive to be faster actually. And yeah, really grinding in iRacing to like the guys doing today with 10K iRating. But at our point, it was like 5 to 6,000, was just like really huge.
Yeah, exactly. It's evolving a lot, no?
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's,
so your first connect with sim racing, big sim racing, I would say it's the GT Academy, no? It's the first big
oh,
event.
yeah. I mean, I used to drive the GT1 cars in iRacing when
Okay.
it was like a really successful series, because next to it was nothing actually, like the MP4 GT3 with his own series in iRacing, Skip Barber and so on. And yeah, but for I think I would say like GT Academy was like the biggest competition I ever took part in,
Okay.
and was like for me in terms of, I'm now 37 and it's like 10 years back, but it changed my whole life, like how I approached myself, what I was
Okay.
thinking about myself, and gave me an outlook what you actually can do, and if you start to believe in yourself actually. Yeah.
All right. That's good. That's good. But what I invite you here is to talk about the German sim racing and
Yes.
how the evolution been, if you think it's been progressing a lot, if it's been not
Yeah.
progressing, and if it's been going step by step with the motorsport in Germany.
Yeah,
So
that's like this is like a so detailed question with
yeah, but
so
we
many
go break it
different
down everything.
angles we can look at it.
Yeah.
Exactly, especially with motorsports. It's like with real motorsports, it's like totally crazy actually. Yeah.
So let's start with the motorsport. How
Yeah.
you think is the motorsport in Germany these days?
Mm. Um so I had the chance as a kid
Hmm.
to watch DTM with the good DTM cars.
Yeah.
So please, everybody who's listening, the Class 1 GTM cars were really good. But I watched the DTM cars like the
The touring cars.
M3, like the touring cars, like, and
Exactly.
I was at the Aarhus, and they were driving like 5 meters in front of me. And then they progressed to the ITC cars, which were like these kind of super engineered cars, which actually to that time were more advanced and sophisticated than Formula One cars. And that's racing was still great because it's like was a totally different level. Like you had like these nearly production cars, and then you have like cars which are like aerodynamics and weight shifters and so on, were like
Mhm.
15 seconds faster. That was, in my opinion, the peak of motorsports in generally in the last 30 years from touring cars. And if you watch it now, motorsports is actually kind of boring because the highest class generally in Germany is GT3 cars.
Mhm.
And we had until last year like DTM, ADC GT Masters, and sometimes some other racing series coming to Germany like SRO or what the other one, not the Italian, another GT championship.
Yep.
And that was like the plateau. You have like different series with different drivers and so on. And afterwards, the DTM was like failing and needed new founding. And the ADC jumped in. Now, actually, the ADC nearly scrubbed the ADC GT Masters, which they built like for 20 years with a lot of heritage and history. I mean, René Rast was developed there, Christopher Mies, Kevin van der Linde, and so on. Like these kind of top tier drivers, which we now used to look, these are the GT3 superstars, you know? And then
Mhm.
they just dropping this kind of series for the DTM. I understand it at some point because DTM is like kind of the GT racing series or the touring car series in the world. Everybody knows the DTM,
Yeah.
but it's so awkward, like to kill off the project that you pushed forward for 20 years. And still, DTM is now just like another GT3 series.
Yeah.
And the only thing is which is different, like the entrance for the fans is much higher. And I don't know. I don't think like this is the right way to actually promote motorsports in Germany. I think like something like the Nürburgring Nordschleife is doing partially in the years before, like having a huge amount of regular cars or cars which are not like so sophisticated like GT3 cars, or today even the Porsche 911 Cup car is like crazy fast car. And that's not something like more like we don't have aerodynamics. The car is only I think 10 seconds
Okay.
slower than a GT3 car on the Nordschleife. And that's like hugely fast. Like these kind of, oh, I want to race, I buy a GT86, like doing some security and safety systems, and then I go out for racing. Actually, that's for me racing, actually.
Yeah.
Because at some point, somebody like us is like, maybe when I do well with my job or try to invest in something and have like some money on the bank, I could do my live dream to race one race at the Nordschleife or something. But this kind of brands in Germany like killing this off with these kind of manufacture programs where they run like 10 GT3 cars, which are going on the Nordschleife like through a hot knife through butter and don't care about any something what is in their way.
Yeah.
So basically, the people that really need to pay for racing, because obviously factory GT drivers don't pay for racing, and the factory teams don't care about the money because it's always just win and then everything is fine. These kind of people get demotivated and get crashed off and like can't afford actually to race. And I mean, to have like this kind of top tier level is important, of course, but you see this like a pyramid. Like you have this 1% of top tier, and then you have 90% the people
That's
that
feed. Yeah.
founding it,
Yeah.
that feeding into it, like through friends going each evening into a workshop, building a car and so on. And those are actually the guys who are doing motorsports, who have the soul of motorsports, because these are the kind of people that spend way too much time on racing some shitty racing car, but have the fun of their life in that. And this kind of top tier is only to display what motorsports could be on the pinnacle, but everything under it is like way more important in my opinion.
Yeah.
And probably will come also in a later part when we talk about esports, because
Yeah.
it's actually nearly the same.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Just before we don't
Yeah.
go shift so much from what you say, I agree with you. I think touring cars for me was always a very good answer, even for the manufacturers, because I see if the manufacturers have a car, people want to buy the car if they see the car racing, and if the car is a car that is affordable, you want to buy the car and to have the same feeling. I already said this on a podcast. I remember my grandfather when he bought his new Corolla in 1999 was the WRC, similar to the WRC Corolla, because it was one of my cars that I like. And the same went for my father. My father used to have a Opel Kadett, because was one of the cars that was on races, and he enjoyed
the
it.
cool Cadets, like the Cadet City and so on, with the oh yes, the best car,
The cut ones, the cut.
yes, best car. Yeah, totally
So and for example, one of my cars that after going to be able to see is a DTM. I have the DTM Calibra V6 here from '95. Is one of my favorites, and I'm like you. The same thing on BTCC. I think BTCC in British still getting still be a value race.
Yes,
because they're still using touring cars.
Yes, and you arrive like with your BMW 1.
Yeah,
Put it
exactly.
into the parking lot, and you look like to the right. Oh, there's actually my car. Okay, with 300 horsepower more and 6 tires, but actually that's my car.
Exactly, and I know I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and I think for the fans, it's way too easier to be a fan of a brand if you can drive the same car, because GT3 cars, I mean, who can afford a GT3 car? From the cross section of the population in Germany, or generally in any population, maybe 2%, only the rich people, and they won't drive it like a regular driving car, because it's like no daily driver. It's like a car for good weather.
Yeah. And probably they have one just to drive on the street, and after they have one, even if they need to go to take the truck. So for them, it's just another car. Yeah. But you think that decline on the German affluence for the DTM and for all the races is affecting sim racing in Germany?
I always wonder if motorsports has any influence actually on sim racing.
Okay.
Because I had some kind of awkward talks with some professional sim racing esports drivers, and I was like, yeah, which car do you like, or which are you actually watching? So basically, Formula One esports driver told me, yeah, I don't watch Formula One, I find it boring. And I was like, okay, but you're driving actually these kind of cars, and you're actually driving for one of these kind of teams. And then I was start getting like the impression they do that because it's the fastest car and the competition is so close. So basically for them, it's not like I can drive something what is Max Verstappen driving or Charles Leclerc. For them, it's like, okay, that's the highest challenge of the sport and the highest pedigree of skill. So that's why I'm driving that. And even if you see like these kind of people that doing iRacing like regularly and daily on 7 to 10K iRating, they don't mind any car. They are just switching to the car which is the fastest one. So if you take a look at this kind of esports pedigree, I think motorsports doesn't matter at all. But on the other hand, we have this kind of people that are like working a lot and have a good simulator at home and use the simulator as a
immersion,
emotion and free time tool. Like, oh, I worked like 60 hours this week, and family, and let's care about everything. And after 23 o'clock, open up the door, close it behind me, and let's just like take my BMW Z4 GT3 out to the Nordschleife with my favorite skin and just driving it. And I think for these kind of people, there's a sense of motorsports promoting like sim racing.
Okay.
But I think sim racing is promoting motorsports even more in that case, that you can drive these kind of cars that you see at the racing track and maybe never even can sit in the car. And I think it's a bios. So basically a symbiotic relationship. If there's no motorsport, you won't have this influence on sim racing to drive this car. But if you're not having sim racing, people never can feel this car. It's always like this kind of distant 2 seconds flashing by thing on a racing track. That's always like so far in the distance that you never can really bound emotionally with
Yeah.
that. And even I used to like driving for Mercedes AMG in iRacing, or drove the roof Porsche in GT3 before that. The Z4 GT3 was always for me this kind of car. Like I fight it against these kind of factory drivers, and I was like, but it was cool to take this car out like in a dark night on Nordschleife and just drive it, because the sound was good. The car was so cool to drive. And always when I see the GT3 car, I was like, oh, would I take
But
have like
we saw that this year, no, with the Dacia. When the Dacia came,
yeah,
the Dacia Logan, even if it was lapped every time, every time,
yeah, but
everyone was a big fan of the Dacia going around, and
yeah,
the Dacia making
but
an Nordschleife. So
yeah, and it's like, and to be honest, it's totally crazy what they're doing. Like, there's so not saying badly about it, but it's really really slow, that car.
yeah,
And they putting their life on the line, because the GT3 car comes around the corner sometimes with 100 plus kph more in speed difference.
yeah,
But they are doing that for this kind of pyramid thing. The 99% of people that are doing it out of joy. And I think that's why everybody is such a fan of this car, because it's like motorsport from my neighbor and he's driving.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But okay, and in terms of the sim racing evolution, how you been seeing the simulation revolution in Germany?
It's interesting. So I know a lot of people like from the start, from their career. Like, so basically, I had the chance to get to know Martin Krönke. Martin Krönke was in Germany always this kind of alien, and nobody talks to him, and he's like very reserved and so on. And when I started to be like professional driver, we got at, I think, Expo 2015 or something, or 14. We had an evening with Team Redline. Were they Redline already? Yeah, they were Redline already. With Coanda, some Spanish teams, and we were out drinking water, obviously. And I still have a photo where Gregor Hutto is like holding up by 3 guys because he was a bit hangover. And afterwards, like these kind of meetings, put down this perspective of your competitor. You're like somebody we fight against each other on the track, like really, really hard, but you get to know the people. And then we started to have like a deeper relationship with Coanda, actually. And then I started to get to know Martin Krönke.
Okay.
And it turned out like he's like a super decent guy, and like really smart, like hugely interested in physics and so on. And now you see this kind of people like 10, 15 years ago. And today, Martin Krönke actually developed the VRS wheelbase. So, but many people don't even know about, because they don't know Martin Krönke. So the development of sim racing is quite interesting, because these kind of people that were so long standing in the industry started out as a sim racer, as a professional sim racer, and turned into something else. Still sim racing, but now working in the industry. And there are like a lot of examples, like Martin Ascher as well. Like,
Yeah.
started to build like his steering wheels in his basement, and then now it's like working at KW Automotive and is developing these kind of crazy steering wheels. Because I mean, 10 years ago, steering wheels were like plastic toys. Today,
Yeah.
it's like so good, you can put it just briefly in the racing car and it won't break, and it's actually
That's
better than the most racing car
yeah.
wheels.
That's one
And
something that I want to ask is even brake pedals. Brake pedals these days, I think, are better than the real
yeah,
on the real
it's,
cars. So
and and I think this kind of development actually shows a bit what happened to sim racing. So sim racing in the terms of the community and so on 10 years ago was not existing. There were like a bunch of people driving competitive against each other. And I mean, I had like 150 people of my friends listen to iRacing, and that was nearly the whole racing series I raced against. And now you go into a Discord, let's say Jardi's Discord is like freaking big. And you see like it's exploded actually. Of course, it's not so big like Counter-Strike, League of Legends. Probably will never be like this, but we need to focus on our stuff. And sim racing really developed a lot of in the last 10 years, in good and bad ways. That's always happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it's way more open, way wider. There's more access for everybody, and also like more points where you can access sim racing and get some help. There's literally like 100 of YouTubers doing good, very good content about how to get into sim racing, how to be good in AC, AMS, R Factor 2, iRacing. Like literally, there's nothing what you can't think of.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think sim racing is now stronger than ever, and I think better than ever. But everything which is going to grow also have its downsides. That's
Okay.
like the regular stuff. But I think some people like focusing way too much on the downsides instead of the good things that's happening. And from what I can say, because also I work in sim racing a lot, the player numbers didn't drop after Corona, which is like a
Okay.
really, really, really good sign, and just shows that sim racing is on a continuous rise. And therefore, I think the change which happened to sim racing from 10 years ago to now is like a transition from a niche, and somebody is saying like, "Oh, you have a simulator? What's kind of that joke?" To, "Oh,
I
what the
want
fuck you
one.
have?
Yeah.
What the fuck you have a simulator and the wheels blinking and something like like
Yeah.
this kind of stuff." People now tend to see it like a serious hobby, and like giving you also credit if you're doing it, like because it's now more or less like coming to the mainstream, and that's really good.
Yeah,
Long answer.
but yeah, it's a good answer. But I want to ask you: do you think the evolution too is just on sim racing, or the racing games, the arcade sim racings are helping a lot? As like Gran Turismo, the
Mm.
F1, that I would not consider a full sim racing, but they are almost there.
To be honest, and that's kind of discussion which I fiercely hate in sim racing,
Okay,
because the core part of sim racing, I mean, this community around Assetto Corsa Competizione and iRacing, I don't know what it is, but they have this kind of strong belief and feeling and desire to be like elitism, to say
oh
that's
yeah,
like the best simulation. And to be honest, if it makes sense and is fun, every simulation is great.
yeah. That's the thing, because I think
And
even on esports, the ones that work is GT. Gran Turismo 7 is probably,
yes,
in terms of Sims Airsports, is the only one that has been from the beginning to the end the best. And is
yeah,
the
and
accessibility of the game is easy to play, easy to jump, easy to do it.
thank you. And the biggest part what all games are missing, especially ACC and iRacing, R Factor 2, and is something around the game.
Yeah.
Gran Turismo is successful because it's a world. The game is a world. You start out with a racing school, then you purchase like the grand moment after the racing school with
Yeah.
20,000 credits. You start to purchase your first car, man. Like you have
Yeah.
5 cars and you're so fearsome. I don't know which car to take. Probably to ruin my career, but it's like the
Yeah.
first car in a long travel of 100 cars you purchase or more, even more. And the driving physics doesn't matter in that case. It's
Okay.
about this kind of enjoyment and fun. And iRacing is simulating racing. Assetto Corsa is simulating racing. Gran Turismo is simulating racing. Even Forza is doing it. The only difference between it is the degree of simulation. and what
Exactly.
kind of game design do you want to run against? Because simulation and the success of simulation is always going against each other. So the game design needs to be fun and the simulation needs to be good. But racing cars are driven from professionals.
Yep.
And if you have like a complex car like LMP1 or Formula One cars, these cars are not drivable for beginners. So the simulation needs to be turned down to a degree so the game design is good, so the experience is good. Because there's nothing more frustrating like going out and crash.
Yeah,
Going
exactly.
out and crash. It's like, okay, I did it 3 times and I don't understand what happened. I uninstall the game and return it. So every game which is kind of simulating racing is a sim. And the only question is what is kind of degree, and you need to live with that. And the only thing is where people don't understand it is if you love iRacing, it's cool. It's totally fine. But don't go anywhere and say your game is shit, because it's like that's not good. That's like offensive. Leave people in their bubble, in their desired space, and don't interfere with them if you don't like what they're doing. And that's the most important part. And sim racing, as long there are no jump pads or other boosters you can collect on the racing track and so on, it's still some kind of simulation behind it. It's sim racing. Because that's what the name is saying, simulated racing.
Okay, makes sense. You
Period.
talk about something really, really important, and I think it's really honest when you say that every game is a simulator, and after they have like a level of simulation, and we need to look from which level we went, because we need to remember, like Gran Turismo or Forza, a lot of people play with a controller. So if you go a
Yeah.
full simulator on a controller, you cannot
Yeah,
do it.
it's
So
not
the game
working.
have to be
Exactly.
the game have to be, and after in terms of graphics or in terms of the beautiful of the game, I think Gran Turismo is unique. You know,
There,
is
there was like an article on
yes,
Jatronic or
the
something like that,
LFA, yeah, from the
where
Lexus.
yes, and I was like, they're putting the pictures next to each other, and I was like, I didn't know which picture is Gran Turismo and which was the real one. And
Yeah,
okay,
is
that's
unique.
also simulated. In some cases, it's also simulated realism in pictures. So
Yeah, I think it's
wow,
more. I think Gran Turismo, we forgot, is a homage to cars. Is
yes, yes, perfect,
you pay on you have all the details of a car. It's not is all the details of a truck. They want to do something that is like the the proudest, you know, the best possible looking car and all the best detailed.
yeah,
If you put VR and you jump from your real car in the VR and you go in Gran
yeah,
Turismo, it's quite similar. You know, is you have things. I keep saying this when I jump from
hmm
the my I used to have R3 RX8 R3 and I
oh
go on a
yes,
VR
yeah,
and come on, is everything, the stitches on the steering wheel, the noises and everything
yeah.
was there, you know.
Only the
You're
smell
only
is
missing the
missing, right?
smell. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yeah,
Is is unique. But now shipping to the esports, because we're already
yes,
talking about the Germaning and everything,
hmm
and I don't want to go about the Germaning hardware because German hardware is going well, but I know that
yeah.
some of the manufacturers are going with some, unfortunately, for some trouble, and they cannot dig themselves from the trouble that is happening.
Yeah, we can't like direct a name, say the name, but probably
Yeah,
if you have too many orders at Black Friday, you're going to end up in a huge mess.
yeah. Unfortunately, I think
Yeah,
I, I think they save themselves on the year. I have to say this one because I think I was putting Fanatec probably not on the best on 2023, but after with the releases that they drop it on the
yeah,
from October, they come with so many good stuff that you go, okay. So they've been holding, and but unfortunately they're still holding with some issues that I hope they're gonna
yeah.
come up and create a very good 2024 for Fanatec because
It's
they need it.
yeah, they need it actually, and also what the most people actually don't realize is Fanatec is like this kind of front-facing company that
Yeah.
also build up sim racing. Um, I think that's some kind of what people often like forget. Like also the hardware manufacturers do a lot for sim racing. I mean, they spend millions on the SRO to have like these kind of sponsorships, but
Yeah.
also they have the money to be seen in the wider public. They're doing marketing. They are referred in videos or
Everywhere.
in reviews. Yeah, in magazines. Like fun, and people always like, or people ask me, why is Fanatec so common, and why don't people go for SimCube or something? And it's always the same. Fanatec does something right, and they put their name out. And they are very intelligent in terms of marketing, where they do partnerships or not.
Mhm.
And for sure, the Gran Turismo partnership was not cheap. Also, the F1 esports partnership was not cheap. But these kind of partnerships are strategically so important to put your name forward in the industry and like make a name for you. And the only thing is why Logitech and Trustmaster are maybe so there are no sales numbers, right? Nobody says he's selling like millions of receivers. But the only thing, Logitech and Trustmaster are a bit more known in the perspective of in terms of compared to Fanatec is they are listed in every hardware shop. Like you go
It's
to
what I
Media
say.
Markt and
It's
Saturn, they're actually there, and that's the
it's
last step.
Amazon, the Amazon thing.
Amazon, yes,
It
Amazon,
is Fanatec
and
jump to Amazon. I think these deliver problems and everything will be shifting a little bit from them, but
yeah,
will not be so exclusive. And that's the thing. They want to be exclusive. They want to do everything by themselves, and it's hard.
I I think the issue is with Amazon, they don't want to lose so much on their revenue share because
Yeah.
Amazon takes
Okay.
a lot of revenue share, especially if you're big. And I think they can't afford to miss out so much
And
because
affiliate
if you
links they will lose. No. So the affiliate links, if they go through Amazon, they will not come to
yeah,
the. Okay. Okay. That could make sense.
so if they put their hardware up at, well, they sell their products over Amazon, Amazon takes, I think, 5 to 15% of your share.
So it's a lot.
Um, yes, and for that kind of company, like losing 10% of your share is like, holy shit, what
Yeah,
we
we
did
feel.
wrong? Like,
Uh,
um, and that's the only part why Logitech and Trustmaster is actually more commonly known
okay.
because when we are like, let's put everything by side, Fanatec does better products than both of them.
Yeah.
It's I run Fanatec in 10 years before. I modded my Fanatec CSP V2s like with dampers and so on. But there were other times. Today, Fanatec does really good products. Even their like their fail quote is still a bit high, I think, in some kind of products. But the Clubsport DD and DD Plus was like directly what the market needed
Yeah.
and what hits like the heart of the demand. And Mosa is still also doing a great job, and Camus as well. But there's like this is a long running company that built like a new $1 million headquarter, having an own karting track, and then you have like these kind of companies that entering and can't even afford to do like €1 million or €100,000 marketing campaign because they're getting up and running.
Yeah.
So therefore, you can still build a good product, but you won't reach the masses. But you see, like the good thing is if you go into like sim racing forums, you see like the other names mentioned more often.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of this kind of degree where you start to notice, okay, something is changing.
Yeah.
But if you
Shifting. Yeah.
see it in Reddit or on sim racing forums, it will take at least a year or two until it's coming to the main market because these kind of sim racing forums are only this kind of 5% of people that use a forum. Nobody does use a forum. I mean, most people are like, oh, I want to buy a wheel. I saw like this guy streaming and this looks like fun. Let's go Amazon. What is like the least expensive steering wheel? And then they're just buying it. And half a year later, they come to, oh, there's Fanatec. And then they start to buy a Fanatec.
Yeah, I think so. I think some people is always trust masters. As far as I this one here, trust masters. Is there the Moza R9 that come from a random call sign that he, and I have a Fanatec CSL there on the box since October. I've been a little bit lazy to take everything. Yeah, but like I say, the thing of trust master is the cheapness, because you for £500 you have a ecosystem, but after after I would say 1-2 months, the plastic come. And and when you come to Fanatec, I touch on Fanatec products with 2 years, 3 years already, and you feel that the quality is still there. So you know that the like we used to say, the German build. When you used to buy a German in Portugal, in my country, we used to say you should buy a Black & Decker or a German fridge.
German quality
will stay
up.
for exactly. So I use this anatomy as saying that probably it is what happened with Fanatec, and the end product is beautiful. This new the M Sport model bottom is beautiful.
Yes,
is beautiful. And you have Aztec that drop something similar. That the quality of the product probably is the same, but in terms of aesthetic, I say that the Fanatec is a little bit more beautiful than the Aztec. I don't know in terms of quality, but in terms
you can
of
argue on aesthetics, but yeah, I think Fanatec is there also like a bit. They understand this kind of degree between racing and gaming. I hate the word gaming for sim racing, but it's still like, let's say, gaming. So it looks like a bit like a gaming control, but it's hugely influenced by motorsports, and therefore it's like appealing for everybody.
And after it's on the car. So you know that everyone that is a rally for a fan, they will buy it. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Again, like good choice of strategic partnership.
Yeah. And on the last days, you put a Twitter, very, very good, was talking about esports without mentioning the titles and no titles. And after, we have this wrong that happened with the F1 sim racing that we're still waiting to know what's happening. And I want to ask you, what you think is wrong on terms of esports on the high levels? What's missing to captivate us? What is there that we need to do?
To be honest, I think we should start 3 years ago.
Okay.
The main part is, so let's put like the phrase at first: sim racing, esports or esports in general, grew way too fast.
Okay.
So the issue with that is the pandemic, and you see it in different industries right now.
Okay, perfect.
At the start of the pandemic, everybody needed to shift it to working home. Therefore, companies saved a lot of money and could hire new people. So in terms of marketing, events died. You weren't allowed to do any events. So basically, for many companies, even high public companies traded in the 100s, like top 100 of the companies worldwide, started to invest into esports. And that brought in money, which is actually wasn't deserved to be there.
Okay.
Because these companies were like, oh, fuck, we can't do any events anymore. What we do with all the millions? And then then there are some intelligent consultants were like, oh, there's this kind of thing like esports, and it's popping off because Fortnite made like a tournament with 100 million prize money, and there are like millions of people watching, and that's a perfect replacement for our events actually. And therefore money was like really swamped into esports. I mean, I in the last 5 years I done some consulting on esport teams. I worked for esport teams, and if you sometimes saw like what the sponsorship brought you, like that's not justified. Like I mean you're happy that you received this money, but you're like, that's not just justified, to be honest. But you won't go to your sponsor and say, hey, half of it would be good. And for the now putting it back to sim racing, the car manufacturers were like, yeah, okay, we can't even race. Fuck.
Yeah.
And there was like Vim Racing, this kind of hidden gem, and all of kinds this kind of burst of sim racing and this exponential growth is not because of the car companies. That's like if they take honor in that, they can, let's be honest, to fuck off. The most people that helped us were the motorsports drivers, like Formula One people turning up to Twitch, like IndyCar drivers, NASCAR drivers, because these kind of people are these where people follow. Like that's like regular thing. Look at Twitch streamers and the racing stream. The racing stream has, let's say, thousands of viewers. The Twitch streamer has like 5, 10, 20. Like people want to see personalities. And that's why sim racing exploded, because like a Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, a lot of even Sebastian Vettel started to race in sim racing. And people were like, what? There's this thing? You get to drive their cars? Okay, let's just try and get it. And therefore, like a huge attention was brought to the topic. And in the second step, the manufacturers were like, okay, interesting. Let's spend some money on it. I mean, BMW was like, put a lot of money into it. And Porsche even so. I mean, Porsche handling the esports team, not like esports. They're handling like a racing team. I mean, take a look at the profiles of Mac Beckham or Joshua Rogers. They're doing like triathlons. Is it the word in English, triathlons?
Yeah.
And they're like, sim racing is like for their bodies, like under demanding. They could easily race in a real racing car. And that the manufacturers
move here alone.
Yeah, you moved again.
One of the wheels just move alone.
Don't run away. And this expansional growth was then obviously like companies, car manufacturers were like, okay, now we need like a sim racing team, and they brought money in, and I had the chance to race for Project One, Virtual Le Mans. So basically, they invested like 50,000 euros in this whole program with marketing and so on. And it was like, guys, that's crazy, and you won't get any return of that money. They were like, yeah, but we want to race in that, and 50,000 euros is like 8 tire sets, which we would use to buy. I mean, you understand the magnitude of investment for them.
Yeah.
It's nothing. And then when I started to work for Mercedes AMG and driving in the virtual Nordschleifen racing series for the Haupt racing team, which was then actually in this year also the DTM champion, luckily, there was also like this kind of, we need to do sim racing and what it costs. And I was like putting numbers together. And that was already my second part of being professional. I was like, okay, now shoot for the stars in terms of salary and so on. Because they come to you, they are driving DTM and so on. I was like putting those numbers down, and they were like, okay. I was like, fuck, could have more. but you know, and they had this kind of, spend the money and let's see what's happening. And now it's stacking up like, okay, we spent all the money, what we got actually. So they did not the cleverest approach in terms of investing money. They didn't check the return of investment and then invested a lot of money in terms of that could be the investment, the return of the investment. They just spent money and hope for a return. And that's now leading to a decrease of esports interests, because all these kind of parties saw, okay, we spent so much money, but the return is not there. But that's actually unfair to esports, because esports wasn't promising to be the healing solution to sports event. It's just an alternative. So that's one thing on the industry part, like why the industry spends so much money. On the other hand, the other issue are the teams actually. Because the teams were like overselling themselves. Like they were like, okay, we have social media, we do streaming and so on, and we are racing. And I can tell you, if you want to race, there's actually no time for social media and there's no time for streaming, because racing professionally in sim racing takes a huge chunk out of your daytime. And if I say like 2 hours a day, it's not enough to be one of the best. So these teams started to promise things but couldn't hold up. So basically, then the investor got angry with the team, and now the teams built something like a structure with 10, 15 drivers, which you actually need to be professional, because you need to have these kind of top tier drivers, these 3 to 5 in your team. And then you need like racing engineers, and then you need like drivers which doing the setup work while the good drivers actually training.
Yeah.
So then you build like an ecosystem which is actually quite expensive, because the top drivers get money, the engineers getting money, and these kind of development drivers want also money. So except for you're like in Formula One team, then your people probably do it for like these development drivers do it for free, because
Okay.
they
want to be
attach
part.
to they attach to the idea I'm getting something in return through the name. And now, like, literally people from the industry at the car manufacturer said to me, Simracing ESports doesn't make sense for us because the teams are too greedy. Because the teams did not understand at that time that, of course, they pay you something, but you can't build your whole ecosystem, your whole team on that payment. You need to find new ways to sponsor your team, or getting revenue in, or getting some kind of financiation or support or something like that. And if you build it only on one pillar, like the manufacturers paying you things, if that pillar taken away, your team is crumbling.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make any points to some teams, but I think for one team, which is really, really good, actually in iRacing, that happened. Because to put now the perspective to teams that do well, let's see BS Competition. BS Competition is a multi-game team, from iRacing to Assetto Corsa to Rocket League to Gran Turismo, and they do well in every part of their esports team. They're not only a sim racing team anymore, but that's because there are people behind that understand the investment needs to be returned, and also understand that growth takes time.
Yeah,
So
that's why come the Rocket League. Rocket League probably is where come a lot of the income, and is a more
yes,
easy, a more affordable and easy way to approach the esports.
exactly, because
The same with
if you
Gran
see,
Turismo, no? Gran Turismo
yeah,
is I think is in terms of viewership and probably that people follow
it's the
more
best,
esports. I
probably
think
the best with F1
yeah,
esports together.
yeah.
And then you see Team Redline, and what Redline did, they did. I mean, Redline was always on the upper end of being professional and being good in sim racing. But what Redline did is a bit, for me personally, what Michael Schumacher did to racing drivers. Michael Schumacher came in and defined the kind of art and being a racing driver knew. He defined to be like a technical, improved, and understanding driver. What Redline did is they were always good, and they redefined what a team needs to do to get money. And when you see like they have tens of thousands, of course, they have Max Verstappen. Let's put that in front. But they understood, okay, if we are a good sim racing team, we also need to add something for our sponsors and for ourselves to have longevity. And this kind of streams, what they are doing, like this kind of team streams where everybody is
even with FIFA, they put FIFA in the middle. Yeah,
having a spotlight, like you see, like that's like a TV show from Team Redline. I mean, they're doing like the introduction, who's there, who will be there. They have a commentator who's like, or a moderator, like who's giving the spotlight to somebody, and then they're still doing something which is really important and forget their professional racing team.
Yeah.
Because people, and that's also happening in real motorsports, people don't want to see marketing excuses and marketing language. It's fucking boring. Because that's also what is so important to us in the old motorsports. You have somebody who's crashing the other out and was like, yeah, he does it. And they do it intentionally. and like this kind of trueness to what the people are doing and saying, and having a line in their life, like being like straight. That's something which is appealing to the viewer. And another good thing is that everybody in Redline is actually a friend to each other. So basically, they can laugh about each other, about the
Yeah,
things
because they
they
talk
even
about their
do.
lives there.
Yes.
They joke about sometimes even Max, when Max jumps, they joke about what Max was been doing,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yeah, and is that you can put that is what missing on esports. For let's pick up
So
the F1.
entertainment.
Yeah, let's pick F1. F1, they tried to, on my point of view, create a way of keeping F1 entertainment between the off season. So season is over, let's
Yeah.
jump with the F1 sim racing and let's. But cannot be only F1 sim racers there. I think they should bring, I don't know, ex drivers. Have something.
Mhm.
Because when we see F1, sometimes we don't saw only the race. A lot of people they jump to see Martin Bundle, going around and asking questions.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Yeah.
you need these type of things. We need the communication between the
Yeah.
radio. Oh, you need to change your tires. We need to know what's happening
Yeah,
more
you want
inside
to
of
see
the.
the drama. You want to have the
Yeah,
access
exactly.
behind the
We
screen.
that is what sells.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, is what
Yeah.
sells. And the same thing with Rain Sports. They need to do something to captivate. If the show is too long, it's 8 hours, 9 hours, sometimes.
To be
And
honest, the show is overdone.
yeah. I think
It's
they doing well, but is missing something.
No,
I
they're
don't
not
know.
doing well. I'm very honest, and I know people from Rennsport, and I like
Okay,
them a lot because they're good people. But let's we need to remove Rennsport from ESLR1. Rennsport is just a platform for it. So
okay,
that's another topic to discuss. But ESLR1 is an attempt to force Counter-Strike professional esports productions onto sim racing. And that's not working because the
okay.
community is not there. The community is not ready for that. The community don't want to see like super artificial made streams. All of the people that are there, I know everyone nearly personally. They're all good people and they're all really fun people to be around with. But I know that there's something being forced on them to make a show which is also not the way how they are.
Okay. Okay.
And and that's what people don't like. I mean, Rory Alexander is one of the most uprising content creators currently. He
Yeah.
hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he's like really. He was on the Expo last year. Then was on I think every SRO race with Veloce, and
And
it's
even Gran
like
Turismo is on the Gran
yes,
Turismo
and he's
events.
he was working full time as a lawyer before,
Yeah.
so that's crazy, and he's done it because of passion and dedication. And in this kind of Rennsport stuff, he was another person. He was like this kind of more, let's say, professional presentator
Yeah.
than this kind of
I
appealing,
understand where you come
cool
from.
guy, which he actually is. And that's the part where Formula One. Let's put it in the perspective to Formula One because ESLR1 is like the top notch of sim racing, and Formula One is the top notch of motorsports. Let's say it like that.
Yeah.
Um, what Martin Brundle does very well. Martin Brundle is like this kind of ex-racing driver who gives a shit about what people thinking of him. He's going directly to the biggest stars ever and like, hello, can you
Yeah,
please say
exactly.
something? And if you don't say, I make fun of you because I don't care who you actually are. You should know me. And that's the fun part because there's somebody we can relate to, and he's just going up to the people that are, let's say, from the VIP status way above him, but he doesn't care. He's like, get to my microphone. If you don't, we will see. And that's the part we would like because it's like it's human.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It's what you say. Is
and and that's what's missing for me personally in Israel. And
okay.
Louis and George, they're doing like a fucking great job and being commentators and so on. But it's still not feeling like they can be the person they are. It's like always like there's a script, there's like an attitude you have, and please do it like that. And then coming back to the platform, let's say Rennsport does a great job also in promoting the game. But from my feeling, putting a game which is, and I don't think that's even in the terms of software development, the beta, it's still for me an alpha because so much is missing. Putting that game into the front light of sim racing, saying that's the next evolution of sim racing and doing all these kind of promises and marketing hype and so on. I don't think that was clever.
Okay.
And that's a part where people like, okay, the show is good, could be better because people could be more open and free in what they're doing. But then there's this game, and this game is alpha. And that's the regular stuff happening in the gaming industry all the time. People bringing out betas and the regular customer is comparing that beta to iRacing. Thank you. A product that is on the market like 15 years is the leading product for multiplayer games. Even if you take Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is like not so long standing, but it's still a finished game.
Yeah.
And they're all better than Rennsport. And that's not like saying Rennsport is shit. It's like the true fact that a beta product is not as far as a released game with at least 5 to 10 years of history.
So it is damage in your view.
It's damage.
Is damage Rennsport. Okay.
Yes. You know, I don't know whether you know the time where Assetto Corsa was shit. Assetto Corsa Competizione. It was released.
Was a time on Simracing that when I started working as a chef. So from 2010, my free time until 2017 2018 was was zero. We work from the 12 hours a day. That I didn't have time. So a lot of racing moments I lost, and I think I started getting more back when the Project Car came to PlayStation. That was easy for me to plug in and to play. But so I lost a lot of time from the course and all these things. So a lot of things I lost it.
So good also for listeners and viewers. So basically, Assetto Corsa did the same thing. Assetto Corsa Competizione did the same thing. They came out with beta and it was totally shit.
Okay.
And the people like ranted about it. Like performance was so bad because it was the first Unreal Engine racing game. So there was no experience with Unreal Engine 4 in the racing game. And it was buggy as hell. And the cars drove like skateboards on ice. And the community took apart the game. And there was like, this game can never be successful. And look today. But the thing was, Kunos was open. Kunos said, okay, we know the game is not good, and we work our asses off to make it better. And try to come back to the community and saying, okay, what do you want? What do you see? What we should do first? And actually, I think Rennsport needs to do the same. Rennsport needs to be more open to the community, understanding also what the professional drivers want, because the professional drivers putting up the show to promote that game, actually, and then like start to maybe change the roadmap of development a bit more to what the community actually wants. Because I pushed out now leaks, and sorry, but why you're pushing out leaks? There's no content for leaks. There's like four tracks or fives and some GT3 cars. And there's no content for leaks.
Like, even on esports, they should do like a mod, like open for modding. You have your team, you Mercedes, you make the engine going to be equal for everyone, but you design the car the way you want it, or
please.
Or surprise when it comes to the major. Of course, on the LAN is teams, but when it comes to the major, make interesting, make like. People have to instead of one driver, it's two drivers. By car.
Change the format. Try to be creative.
Exactly.
I mean,
a car surprise. Cars that you don't know. So everyone can drive any type of car, because I think some cars have such advantage when it comes to some types of tracks that the other cars don't have it. And after you see that in the teams. So some teams sometimes they go very well, and after
then
on the next 3-4 races they are completely bad because the car
is
not well designed for that track. So I think they need to do something that captivates, because it's on a final. You don't know which car you're gonna drive until you jump. The car, the track is different.
Exactly, totally. Yeah,
So
something of a kind of surprise, because currently, like the race or the live race is always the same. There's no surprise element. It's
It's like
always the same race, the same schedule, like nothing. That's okay. There's a new track. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they start good. I think they just need to tweak their something. And like I say, it's a mod. Ask mod teams to create cars and make a car surprise for the drivers. Something that can be fun for us to watch and say, look, they're going to drop some new car. They're going to do something like Gran Turismo do. Gran Turismo, they put a show. They drop a new Vision car, something that the Bulgari that we're never going to expect it. And
that's funny, right?
Creators and when they go as a national team, I think the National Cup for me is the best in terms of because
that's awesome.
Exactly, and you have the people speaking, you have the stands. I think they create the environment that is what we need for esports, and again,
but
it's an easy game.
Not forcing it. There's this is like a continuous growth on the game.
Okay,
and there's like Gran Turismo is always evolving, and the fun part is actually they're releasing a car which is not present in real life.
Exactly.
Nobody cares about it. Like literally nobody cares about it. People are like, whoa, that's the vision of a race, okay? Let's race it.
Yeah, but you're gonna speak about it.
You're gonna speak about it, but nobody cares. People, okay, we drop a new racing car. That's not happening, but that's a design study of somebody, and people start to race it.
Exactly. You see,
because they want to drive it. Actually,
that Bulgari car, for me is a very good marketing, even for Sabelt. You see an open car straight away, Sabelt seats, Sabelt the stripes,
harness,
the yellow stripes. And I think that's a marketing in a way that we don't gonna have the possibility to drive the Vision yet, because you need to drive. I think you need to get the wash or something like this but everyone will talk about it, and everyone will say, okay, when the car come, I want to have a try.
Yeah, totally, and that's also like, is Gran Turismo now an arcade game because of that, or is it a shit game because there's
I think it's an homage to cars.
I think content type that is actually not real.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's where some racing. I mean, for iRacing it would not work. I mean, this kind of Formula One Dallara car, which was developed in iRacing, flopped. You can say it directly, it flopped, because iRacing is like, we built only cars that happening in real life, and then they're like, here's a Formula One car which is not actually real, and everybody was like, eh? But for other games, I mean, Rennsport, that could be the opportunity for Rennsport. And I already said that to Morris Harberger at one call, why you're not doing a racing series with figurative cars. The teams design the cars themselves.
Yeah.
Somebody's 3D modeling it, and everybody has the same physics underlying it. And then you want to have
far away from GTs.
Yes, you want to have this kind of digital ownership. Awesome. Look at Counter-Strike. People buying a skin for 99 cents to put a sticker on their weapon for Navi or for G2 or for something. Dude, why define the wheel new if you can just copycat something or something which is already working? I mean, not everybody will buy a Redline.
Partnerships with the brands, because like we speak about Fortnite or many Fortnite,
it's going crazy.
They go with Lego, they go with
everything. BMW
has their own
island, and
so I don't say for the drive cars with Dragon Ball, but think on that. Think on bring the brands and create develop a car with the mod community that goes just for Rennsport. The same way that the same way that the Gran Turismo. Yeah.
You know that BMW concept car, the M3 or M5, which was like designed with these kind of huge side body kits and so on. I was like, why never somebody of BMW M or concept department was like, let's do it. Make an Assetto Corsa mod for that because that car's awesome and everybody wants to drive it.
I don't know if that have exclusive. I think Gran Turismo when develop this Vision card. I think probably they get the exclusivity with them or not. But the fact that they have the actual car, like the there, then they take it and the car is here. If he's working or not working, we don't know. But the car is here. This is
it doesn't matter.
That's the
it's
model.
Like real.
This one is entertainment. But now we arrive to our hot seat. Started now with the first track.
Okay, I'm ready for it. What the fuck? Is it? What the fuck is that?
Oh, I go back to
no,
the
no,
same
no,
one.
no, no, go back.
If you don't know,
Blitzerberg.
Yeah. Blitzerberg?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Second one?
What? That's it.
That's from your town.
That's the old Avos?
Have 6 years old.
This the Formula E track?
Yes.
I don't watch Formula E. Oh. Lauderdring. Easy.
Lauderdring, that's easy.
Oschersleben.
Yeah, but do you know the year?
Wait, that's where they have the slow chicane. So it should be 3 or 4 years back. So 2019.
Yeah, and the pit lane enter now is a little bit
the pit lane
more large.
Was yeah.
And to finish,
was better, actually. Now put like this kind of hay bell rolling. What? That's a real track?
That was a real track in 49. 49 and 51.
Thank you. Even my mother was born there. Okay, that's like I don't know. It's something in Braunschweig or something. No, that's not. Is it the Norrisring?
Norrisring.
Yes.
But we go back to the questions.
Okay.
Which car came to your mind first in sim racing?
Lancia Delta Evo Integrale.
Okay, and truck?
Nordschleife.
If you can define sim racing in one word, which will be?
My love.
Okay. But yeah, Danny, thanks so much for being on a podcast. I think we could stay here for I think more 2 hours talking.
We could do some more episodes.
Yeah, but I think the best is we do it on the expo. I think the expo will be.
Yes.
I think this year was my first expo, and I take it so many stuff, but I get COVID straight away. I get sick.
Yeah.
My health was not very. I think I take a very risk going to Germany.
But to give you something to spoiler when you want to make a reel. So basically, we are working currently on the expo and talking to all the exhibitors. And there will be exhibitors that coming back from the Expo Edition 2022 to 2023, and maybe some fairly new ones and really big, because I don't know what happened, but they know now that the expo is actually happening, and we will start to announce some of the exhibitors for next year next week, actually already. Okay. So they
was a rebirth, no? Was a rebirth for the expo this 2022.
I think the expo was like when I go into details and like talking how it felt for me, leaving on Monday was, I think, one of the best feelings I ever had in my life. like this kind of big stone taken away from my chest was was really good.
But the feedback I think from everyone was positive, and I think so. It's always something. It's going to be always something. It's going to be always.
So the feedback was, I mean, we talked about it, and I talked to many content creators and people from the industry, and also people from different countries, and therefore it's like a bit ironical that we talked about the German sim racing scene, because some German people or communities disliked the expo actually quite strongly. But I don't know why. To be honest, I tried to made up that smaller and so on. And I mean, I have every plan. I log onto the server. I can watch every square meter that we planned and so on. And it was exactly the same like 2022. The only thing was, everything was one hall. And therefore much better. And yeah, maybe it's all bigger this year. Next year.
We never know. Thank you so much once again, and I will see
you for the invitation.
I will see you in October.
Yes.